Oh, sorry about that. We're on the verge of disaster here. I'm going to lose the camera. Alright, alright, thanks for joining me as we start to get things rolling here. Yeah, right now we're not messing with staring at much here other than the workbench. I guess the purpose of going live, we just wanted to go over some of the basic stuff I do, and kind of like how I break things down working on the car during the week and between races. You know, I break it down into chunks. Why? Because like we all have busy lives and you know, all that fun stuff. So we got a lot of stuff going on. I know a lot of people are like, man, I know you talk about maintenance. I hear you, say you do this, that, and the other, but I don't have that time. So I don't have that time either. But I make the time and I break it down into smaller chunks. Like I tell people that work for me, we're not going to eat the whale in one bite. We got to take it. We got to break it up into chunks that we can manage and eat it one little bit at a time. So that's basically like what I do with this stuff. And so that's basically what we're going to do. I'm going to show you how I kind of break things down. And before we do that, I just kind of wanted to show I'm revamping my gear bags that I take to the track next season, and what I do. And so my stuff has gotten bulky. I just feel like I've been taking a lot of stuff to the track lately. Local races, sometimes I'll take some extra electronic stuff that I wouldn't normally take to a large race. Like I've got an ESR meter. ESR meter is a battery tool I use for tracking cell health, that sort of stuff. Can give you internal resistance of the cells at a resting charge, discharged rate, gives you an average C rating battery. And the C rating was the C rating test side of it was developed by Danny Sullivan and a couple of other electrical engineers and people in the industry that deal with batteries and so forth, these types of batteries. So the numbers they give you are kind of like conservative of what the C rating could be. And you also got to realize it's a real scaled down, portable type thing. I also carry a big charger. Sometimes I carry a portable LCR meter. So then a lot of this stuff I don't take unless someone says, hey, can you bring this next time you're at the track, so on and so forth. And I'll do that. So the LCR meter, exactly what it sounds like. I used it to check if someone has blown a motor, let's say they blow a rotor. Common with the Castle is you can blow a rotor in a Castle and not lose the motor. So basically what I can do is the benchtop, the portable LCR meter, and I can check the coils inside of the stator and be like, yeah, no, the motor's good. All you got to do is just replace the rotor and you're good to go. So that's that. So what I have up here right now, I'll have the car up here in a second, and hopefully we can see what I'm doing. I was hoping to have a second camera set up, but that never really happened. So we're just going to wing it here. So I have basically got 2 plastic boxes that I take with me, and I recently got rid of one. This is a Plano, clear like tackle box type thing. I'll try to zoom out so you can kind of get a better view of the size. But yeah, so everything in this box here is anything and everything I would need carbon parts wise, so I can rear tower, arms, front arms, rear arms, spare turnbuckles, 4 pieces of brass if I need it for the nose of the car, floating body mount parts, gearboxes, gearbox parts, spur gears, spare shocks, and the only other box, well, I'm going to take that back. I do have another box, 2 small boxes about this big. I carry springs and I carry liquids in. And when I say liquids, I'm talking shock oils, diff fluid, and stuff like that. And like I said, I thought I had everything over here that I needed. And probably next season this will get pared down even more. For the first season, first half, I guess second half of the season, switching to the small body shocks, I carried probably more than I really needed to. I was trying to decide what to carry with me, and what I would use. So this is my small. This is one of the small boxes that I've carried, which is going to go away. And there's probably going to be, well, I'll probably only carry 3 rates of speed. I've switched over to the new Quasi Speed small bore. Right now I've got 8-pound, they're 135s, you know, they're 1.35 inch long. I've got 9 pounds, I've got another set of 8-pounders. And I believe I've got a set of 10-pounders. And that's basically going to be it that I carry for springs. So this box will go away for next season, and springs will go into here. The other thing that I carry is this. And truth be told, I probably won't even carry this next season as well. I have 3 diff fluids and shock oils that I carry. 70, I think 70, 90, and 100 weight are what I've carried in the past, and that's going to go away. As far as carrying the oils, that's not going to go away. I'll probably still keep the shock oils. The diff I probably won't carry with me to the races on a week basis, just for size, space constraints, and to be honest, I've got 2 gearboxes. I've got 2 spare gearboxes that I'm putting. They're like 90% ready to go. I've got 1 gearbox in here. Actually, 2 gearbox. I've got 2 gearboxes in this plastic box right now as we speak. So, I'll just go ahead and open it up so you kind of peek inside, take a look at how it is. I only run so many FDRs, so I only need so many spur gears. So yeah, a couple different spur gears, pinions. What you don't see here is I have like 2 more diffs. So basically what I'll do is I'll do the gearboxes with these 2 diffs, and they will be, one will be my go-to as just a backup to what my go-to is. Like right now, 99.9% of the time, I'm running 300K in the diff on my Arrow. So I'll have 1 backup gearbox with 300K. I'll have another back gearbox with 200K, and I may carry a spare diff with 150K. That's gonna be it. And by carrying that, I really won't need to carry the diff fluid. And as you can see, there's a lot in here. And that's why what I've started doing is if I don't use it or I haven't touched it in a few races, I'm dumping it. I'm not even carrying it anymore. But these are FBM floating body mount parts. This will come into play later on, along with this, because I'm going to bring out my other Arrow, my bracket car / backup car, because I'm going to show some of the floating body mount tricks to the old, to the OG Arrow. So it may be on a new chassis plate, that one, but it still has the 272 gearbox. Said spare shocks. There are spare shock shafts in here. Another thing that I do is arms are ready to go. So these arms, they'll have, you know, the set screws and everything in them. I had to scavenge a set screw, and like here, set screws are missing because I had to snag a hinge pin. So I did that at a race, and so what I'll do is I'll go through and I will go through this entire box here in the off season, re-inventory it like a spreadsheet. So I make sure that I have at least spare set of rear arms, spare set of front arms ready to go with hinges in them. The hubs, you know, the front caster blocks, whole 9 yards ready to go, and then I will carry at least one set of spare hinges. And those spare hinge pins are for spares. If somebody bends one, I've got them, you know. My thing is, if it's in my box, it's yours. If you need it, come find me. I probably have it, and just grab it and go type deal. That's the way I've always run my operation, and that's kind of like the way I keep my spares and my parts kind of together that way. So as you see, right now it's kind of like all over, but it's really consolidated right now. Like this stuff, these are spare body posts for the bracket car. Those will probably go away. You know, I've got a spare spur gear, but you know, now that we've got machine spur gears, you know, quasi speed, I'll switch over to those. If I do have to build a shock, I've got my green slime with me. I also have a small tube, the black Traxxas grease, and that's it. Also, I have a small bottle in my tackle box. I've got a small tackle box that I carry all my tire prep stuff in, and in there I carry, and with my tire box also, I'll have like a bottle of Zubac Speed Lube, and I will have CA glue, just in case we need to do a quick repair on a tire. Sharpies, always have Sharpies, either in my pocket or in my box, because I'm always writing notes down. I mean, I even have, excuse me, getting over a little bit of a cold, you know, spare camber link mounts for the rear shock tower. So this, for next season, will actually change a little bit because I'm going to switch everything over. I've got a rather large rolling pit bag right now, and that's going to be replaced by 2 OGOs. One OGO for the and bodies, and the other OGO for these parts, my charger, my power supply. I guess many of you guys know, I just carry like a 12-volt car battery with me. And so for a bunch of those races that I need to travel lighter, and I have access to a generator, I'm going to switch over to an iCharger and a small power supply. Just get my footprint a lot smaller for traveling. So that's the main box there. So like this box will get consolidated down into some smaller plastic boxes, and then into a set of Coreplast boxes, which a couple different manufacturers sell, that fit into the OGO bags. That sort of thing. Hopefully, what's going on? Yep. So, still on live. And So, yep. Sorry, my just making sure what was going on because my tablet locked up here off to the side. So, just want to make sure. Yeah, for some reason my tablet decided to lose connection to the internet. So, anyways, I'll have to pay closer attention to that. So that's that. That's that box. The other things that I carry with me that is going away. I have a large box that has a bunch of electronic pieces in it. So also next season, only thing electronic wise that I'll carry for spares is I have a receiver. I'll have spare ESCs with me, obviously. This past year I did not. And my lone ESC blew race of the year. So that was fun. So that will be going off to our friends at R1 soon. You know, I got a bunch of other stuff there. A lot of stuff that I really don't need to carry is going to go away. You know, I don't need to carry wire because my ESCs will be soldered up and ready to go. That sort of thing. The other thing I carry are these bad boys. These have been lifesavers. These are boxes that let's see, off of Amazon. Nothing crazy. They are just little, I guess they're crafting bead boxes for beading, for making jewelry. I don't know, beading, is that what we call it? Is that a thing? I have no idea. Yeah, so, and in these bad boys, I've got anything and everything I can think of that I might need. Just, I'll give you a little idea what's going on. Hardware, screws, ball studs, standoffs, screws, lock nuts, lock washers, wheel hex pins, outdrive, dog bases, you know, gearbox pieces, outdrive diffs, shims. These are all motor shim forth, which, you know, this box will probably go away because, shocker, I don't shim motors at the track. I just, when I get a new motor from Nick Bell, shimmed and ready to go. So I don't really need to carry shims with me at the track because I can't tell you when was the last time I touched a motor at the track. In between races, different story. So, you know, like half of these I probably don't need to carry anymore. Same thing, bullet connectors, all this stuff I can probably get rid of, you know, when I switch chargers away. So, boom. That, some of the other stuff I carry, bearings, I carry a full set of bearings, plus for my Arrow. So if something goes wrong, you know, I don't have to question it. I can just be like, boom, we're gonna just we'll take the bearing out, throw it in the box, throw a new one in and go. So those complete set of bearings for the car. Like this is the shocks. So pins. My bracket car runs a 2-pole motor. So some 3mm shaft pinions in here. And realistically, I run one gearing on the bracket car. It never changes. So, you know, that's going to go down to the pinion nuts on the car, the pinion that is on the car, and a spare set. But, you know, we've got C-clips, various spacers, bladders. And as we get into maintenance on the car, I may go ahead and do a full bladder replacement on all 4 shocks. For me, shock bladders, consumables. Lock nuts are consumables. Certain shims are consumables. I carry PTFE, you know, I've got PTFE shims in here. A bunch of different types of shims. Shims for gearboxes. Just miscellaneous shims. Roll pins, which roll pins will go away. Shocker, because now I'll probably only carry 1 or 2 roll pins with me for whenever I'm bracket racing or to the bracket car, because obviously the 23 Arrow and my version Arrow running the 2.6 gearbox with the top shaft that it runs, I don't use roll pins anymore, so it uses that 3mm screw. So back in here, we've got more. Okay, so these are hex pins. The other pins in the other box were outdrive pins. So if you're at a race and you break outdrive pins, I've got those. I've got hex pins. I get these from McMaster Car. They're hardened. I think they're rated for 275 PSI, or as far as shear strength goes. Some hexes, which the only reason I change hex thicknesses is whenever I change wheels, and I only run 2 different styles of wheels in the rear. So I either run the Jacobs 3mm offset standard wheels, or these lines. Either the 3mm offset on those, or I run the Traxxas wide, like these. So I run the Traxxas stretched with Voodoos. So that's my go-to tire, Voodoo. Voodoo, Voodoo, Voodoo. Absolutely, those are the tires to have. Now there are other companies out there. Josh Zero, I consider a good friend. We've known each other for a number of years. We've gotten closer with the drag racing stuff. His tires, they're getting better. So the competition is out there. I know some people have run a couple different tires. You know, there's the twisters and so forth. But yeah, hexes again. So and miscellaneous, more hardware. You know, floating body mounts. Since switching the front servo mount, I've got a spare sets of the servo mounts. 3mm screws, spares for like top shaft if I lose one. Motor screws. So I've got a couple different types of motor screws, long, shorts. You never know, depending on what motor you throw into it. In my case, I can probably get rid of the long ones because the only motors I'm running are the R1s. They work really well for me in my program, and they're body posts, you know, for the floating body mounts. These boxes come with little labels, so then you can just, I know there's a floating body mount parts. So that's that. We'll get these bad boys out of the way. A little bit about what's in the box. Like I said, we did all this. We're consolidating, so then we can go to just 2 bags next year, and that'll be it. That'll be carrying the radio and everything in the radio bags. Hopefully I can pull that off. I'll be psyched if I can do that. So now for the stuff, the maintenance of the car. That's what we're here for, right? So hopefully people are still hanging around. If not, right. So this is the car exactly as it came off the track at Okeechobee a few weeks back. I decided I was just live and I wasn't going to mess with it, so I was going to just leave it the way it is. So I didn't really have any issues down there other than braking and the wet shut down and dumping it in the grass every single time, and that's why the car is the way it looks right now. So that's why we're going to do exactly what I would do if I was getting ready after a Sunday race down at Luke's, Waynesboro, Virginia. So this is what I'm going to do. The car's come off the track. I'm going to wheels and tires back onto it, because the first thing I do when I'm done racing, all four, the fronts and the rears come off, and yeah, those come off. Now when I say, for me, lock nuts are consumables, front wheels I will run way longer than I will rear wheels. The front wheels, I think maybe I've been running these lock nuts the entire season. So this will probably be the last round of maintenance. This thing right here, little skill twist screwdriver, was like $9. Snagged it off of Amazon. Nick Bell was like, hey, you should do this. You should get one of these. It's awesome. With as much as we use cars. It's torquey, so you got to be careful. Got a lot of torque. So you can mess things up if you're not careful. So what I'm doing is excuse me. So like I said, first thing we do is we get back from the track. Actually, but we leave the track, we strip wheels and tires off. We'll clean up, get them cleaned, bagged, put away. Fronts I will wipe down, throw in the box. I don't mess with bagging those up. Rears, obviously I will bag up. And then I have a set of wheels and tires. As you see here, these are an old set that, actually one of them's perfectly fine. The other one had a problem in the pits and the motor was zinging and slammed the car down to get it to stop, and it kind of like dug a body mount to the car, so destroyed a set of golds. I don't think these, actually, you know, these might have been reds, but it happens. So the wheelie bar is on, and I'm trying not to grab it, and the wheelie bar is on just for the sake of the weight. I have scales. I only have two, and they are two 1,000 gram pocket scales. I'll pull them out and I will use them, but 90% of the time I don't, to be honest with you. If I feel I've wrecked the car hard enough, I will break out the scales, because I know what the car should weigh, and I will go ahead and just throw it on the scales and be like, okay, yeah, it's tweaked, or it's fine. So that's probably the only reason I carry the scales, and I can probably figure 90% of the time I can figure out if the car's tweaked without the scales, honestly. So first things first, got the scales, we'll set them up here, we'll slide them out of the way. So the wheelie bar is just there for weight right now. It's not hooked up. I don't care about the wheelie bar height in between races, because thanks to Dustin and his guys at FiveSeven GFRP, what we have now are these awesome thumb wheels on the wheelie bar. I don't know if you can see that in this overhead shot, but I'm sure everyone's seen them by now. And this is why I don't care about what the wheelie bar height is, because I've got a height in my head by feel, and I'll just take my pinky and I'll just run it right up underneath that bar, And I'll decide, okay, we need a tight pinky today, or we need a loose pinky. All right. That was weird. I guess we locked up. Okay. How was that thing locked up? Yeah, I guess I'll find out. Um, so let me show you here real quick, now that we're not locked up. So we're gonna do that. Straight down so it hits the chassis. And that's gonna give you the height. So that's how I check that. It's pretty straightforward. So we'll do that on all four corners, just like that. Let me grab here, spin around. Like I was saying before, I just write everything down on the green tape that I put on the board so you can see what's going on. I didn't even realize that camera had locked up. So I guess now we're not. Since now we're back live and we're not locked, we'll spin the car around. And once I get that rear height setting, I don't need the wheelie bar on the car anymore. So here in a second, when I'm done with the front, we are going to we're going to do that. So, same thing. Orientation is locked. Okay. Oh. So we're going to do that again. So that's all it is. Pick the car up, slam it. We're going to 0. I'm going to clean off a spot right here. Right. We'll take that right there. Push that down. It's the top of the chassis. 1438. So that is the right front. 1438. Good Lord. I don't know what's going on with this thing. It keeps up. So, sorry about that. I may have to go back and just do an edit on this. Again, I'm going to take that right down till it hits the chassis. And it says it's 1383. And you'd be like, 1383, what are you talking about, RJ? Well, yeah, believe it or not. That is probably how it came off the track, and it works. So yeah. We're gonna go back to the head here real quick, because we're gonna take the wheelie bar off, and then we're gonna go over the back half of the car real quick. I mean, if you want to see, we can mess with a set of scales just for giggles. Ounce, ounce, ounce. Yeah. So we could say right rear is 20.19, and the left rear is 20.91. So to me, I think that's close enough. I don't need to really mess with much more than that. So I'm gonna kill that. And that's what I say. I don't get wrapped up in the whole deal of the corner weights, honestly. We'll just let her rip. Now we're back. We don't need the rear tires on for anything else. We know our ride heights. Just take this stuff off. Get rid of it for now. I don't need to worry about the nuts. Something that I will do, people see pictures that I post. I have these little solo shot cups, solo cup. They make shot glasses. So sometimes I'll get those And actually I keep those within arm's length normally, if I can reach it. Yeah. So these little guys. So yeah, I keep those around and I'll throw spare parts. So we're gonna go back to, we're gonna get the wheelie bar. We were done with it. And most of the screws in the car are gonna get junked because when the car came off the track Saturday night at Clash of the Titans, it was wet from the shutdown and running fast. So, oh yeah, that's the other thing. I haven't switched over to the new single wheelie bar yet. So this is just the old Arrow wheelie bar with all its glory, without the sides. Switched over to the new stuff for the wheelie bar, long, all that jazz. So it's I mean, it's gonna get retired for a new standard single wheelie bar. So, and then we're gonna go back to this, rebuild the car. So a lot of things I'll do is I will just blast everything with CRC, the electronics cleaner. That stuff right there, it's plastic safe, it's safe for electronics. We just blast it. So I will literally just take this quickly off camera and I will spray the snot out of it. It's not destroy the plastic, it doesn't mess with the electronics, all of that is. So we just spray the daylights out of it and we let her rip. And then we will just wipe down, get all that excess gunk off of it, and we will just break the car down. So at this point we will do 2 chunks. So let's see, we are 45 minutes into the left, right? And I'm just going over basic stuff, everything in the box to this point. So the next section, if I literally break down how I would maintain the back of the car, it should probably take me about 30 minutes. And what I would do is I say, okay, Sunday night, get home. I've been racing Sunday. Get home Sunday night. First thing I'll do is I'll cycle the batteries. So I'll yank the batteries, make sure they're good and cycled, which these cells have been cycled, put into a storage charge for the winter. So now it's just maintenance on the back half of the car. So we'll zoom a little bit and we will just start breaking the car down. And the first, like I said, I'm probably going to trash most of this stuff. All the screws will be gone. So we will take and we'll remove the floating body mount. Take these. And always make note of where you see 2 holes from the inside. So you can either mark it with like a silver Sharpie or just make a little note on your tape down here. Go 2 holes in. So that way when you get your body mount back together, see, note right there. That you know where your body mount was at. Or you can take a quick picture of it. Excuse me. So, and this will kind of reveal, there's nothing back here different on my Arrow from a stock floating body mount. So this is all normal. So we'll set that aside. We're going to, everything else is the same. I do use, this uses the 2023 Apollo rear tower. This is the 23 Apollo rear tower. This is the OG Apollo tower. And there's a height difference. Everything else lines up. So your bottom to camber mount is the same. One thing that we're changing is so like, and that's the mount that we've got right now. They raised the transmission up 4mm on top of 4, so that raised the gearbox up, dropped the instant center. So now what I do on the Arrow is I've got the 23 Arrow / Apollo rear shower, two standard Brin transmission spacers, gearbox spacers, and I run two toe blocks stacked on top of each other, and I'll show you those here in a second. What I do is I drill one of them out, and yeah, so one gets drilled out, so it's just a through, and it's just a spacer. Oops. My special modified cheap needle nose pliers that I've modified to do roll pins. I also use to pop camber links off. So yeah, it's crude. Just rip them off, go. So yeah, so that's what we're gonna do here. Actually, I can just go ahead and pull these off completely, because this can get completely stripped down. And this is what you do anyways, cleaning it up, because it doesn't take that long. Once you do it a couple of times, it'll go pretty quick. Since we're doing all the screws. Now on a weekly basis, after race day, you could get away with leaving the tower, okay? Leave the shock tower in place, pull the arms, pull the shocks, and then what you can spray the arms off as one, and you pull the shocks off as one, and you clean and you maintain your shocks. That will then turn around, it'll spurt your maintenance, and you probably, you know, won't need to pull the gearbox. You can probably get away with pulling the gearbox every other race. What I mean by pulling the gearbox is checking the diff, checking your, and of course that came loose, checking your diff fluid, and checking to make sure that you're still, you're not too, you know, out dimmer, that your gearbox isn't too dry or anything like that, and your gears are still oiled and that fun stuff. So screw may be salvageable, debatable. Oh yeah, see, like that is not good. Those things usually fall free and loose, so they're all gunked up and shot. So we'll show you what we do with those. That tells me something there. Those screws are probably too long, or those screws are gunked up as well. So I'd have the right size hex driver for that, but we're not even going to mess with that because everything is all gunked up from the rain and the sand and the grass and getting put away wet. So again, make note of where everything was. You know, I know I'm in the middle on the bottom hole. Not a big deal. So, all right. Next bit of fun, we will go ahead and we will pull the motor, because I think the motor is fine. So we are still 440 on bad boys for now. Yeah, we got more of those screws. No worries. Now you can run a reamer through that to make those come off a little bit easier, but I'm not too worried about it. You do have to be careful because you can tweak those gears. If you try to just yank them off of there. Okay, we'll just take all our pieces, throw it into our little cup, and move on. All screws are probably going to get replaced anyways. Our screws. And as we do this, you're going to see the changes done to the car. So if you come here, now we're going to see what I was talking about before. So and what I have here, just so everybody knows, this is the 22 data chassis that I cut down myself. This is essentially the new 23 narrow chassis. Yeah, I'll have a couple of new narrow chassis coming this time. Order them up this week. Go ahead and pull the shocks off, because we're gonna work on cleaning those here too. So that's what I do. So this is what I've done. Gosh dang it, even rusted the outdrives. I'll junk those. As you can see, the rust, the hinge pins. That's still free, but this is not. That froze up. I can guarantee you it was not like that when it was racing. So we've taken the new 23 shock tower, same way, nothing crazy there. We have the brace, and then we've got the aluminum camber mount with the new transmission brace. No spacers, no nothing. Only the front two screws underneath the chassis hold the box in. The rear two, just lock nuts. And when you look, that is 2 toe blocks stacked on top of each other. Clean some grass out of there. See? Boom. And that's going to give you the height. That's going to give you essentially the same gearbox height and geometry, instant center and everything else as the Apollo. And that's why that change was needed, was to get that instant center changed. So shocks are off. Now what you'll probably want to do, yes. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and take your measurements. So take a piece, or if you want another piece of tape on your board or something like that, and take your shot measurements. This is the right rear. This is the left rear. You check your collar length. Millimeters. Again, so we're at 3.4. Yeah, 3.5. So we'll say 3.5 collar. I'll write that down. Collar 3.5. Boom. Left rear. 4.25, 4.24, whatever. 4.25 color. So I got the collar measurement, right? And then when we take this apart, we're also going to do the overall length. So we're going to make sure that our overall length is fine. But before that, take our CQ container. We're going to blast the crap out of it. Now to save everyone noise, myself and everybody else noise, normally I'd hit this with air, you know, my compressor. Just spray them down and then blast them, but that's good enough. It's good and clean. I mean, and I have a shock rack over here too. This is the new Quasi Speed 8-pound, 1.13 long springs. Grab my shock rack. I'll throw these suckers up on the shock rack. And there's still some crud on them, so we'll blast them off a little bit more, get the rest of the crud off. Just blast it off, boom, you feel it. You hear it, a little bit of noise. Rebuild those suckers. Blast it off a little bit more in the other one. Same thing. Got my dog upstairs. Okay, what's going on, Dad? And that makes it nice. So you can see the lettering on there. You know what spring it is. You can see it on, probably can't see it on the camera. So be it. So that's that. Rear shocks. Over here to the left side. So, like I said, I like to do one side, one half at a time. So, and these are, I mean, they feel pretty decent actually, but they definitely need to get blasted out because they don't feel awesome. They feel decent. There's a difference between decent and awesome in my book, and decent is not good enough for race day. 3mm is not going to fit there. So and it works out. You've got just enough clearance. You can take that side carbon off of the thing, and this one did junk. New screw. I guess I could probably go take that motor out the rest of the way. That is not 2.5, that's a 2mm. something to look for. Check your pinions often. We are using these things pretty hard. So like here, that one's got a little nick in it. And I'll look at the spur gear, and I can see marks in spur gear from that little nick. So that pinion will go to the trash. So yeah, certain things like that we're gonna find. You know, we may have more items that I kind of feel is a consumable item. Some people may like opinions not a consumable item, but you know, you inspect them, it's gonna wear out just like anything else. So gonna wear out just like anything else. So we are going to remove our friend the ESC, as he is toast. So motor and ESC out. See, I just use the industrial strength of acrylic on that. So the motor's actually pretty decent. There's nothing wrong with the motor, I think. I mean, I'll find out here soon, because once I get the ESC taken care of, I'll get another ESC soon. I'll get everything checked out and go from there. I'll probably go ahead and throw the ESC on the LCR meter, just to double check it. I mean the motor on the LCR meter. Check the coils on it, see if there's no issues with it. Go from there. So as I am at this angle, let me get this screw out. So get this capture screw out, and we'll go through this arm, because I can see that some schmutz on it. Now for some reason, I believe I left my drill at work, or in my lab. So normally what I would do is I'd just take this hinge pin, and I would chuck it up in my drill, and I would, oh yeah, look at that. That's beautiful. So to make life easier, I'm going to go ahead and pull this shock mount, the wheelie bar mounter, and get that taken out, because you're going to see how beautifully that hinge pin has rusted inside the plastic. So another thing that I do, if you look at my cars closely, all of them, these screws are long. They all out really far. That's kind of extreme. But what I do is snap one off. I want to be able to grab a hold of it. So that's what I'm doing, is I just run the screws longer so I can be sure that I get the pieces out again. So let's go ahead and get this off out of the way, since it was probably rusted and junked anyways. So I've got all the hardware and stuff already, so I'll just replace all the hardware on this car as we go through it. It's probably going to take us a little bit longer than normal, but you should be able to do an arm, you know, once you get used to it. You can probably do it in an hour or so. I mean, First couple times you do it, you know, you just do the back half of the car. May take you, you know, 45 minutes, an hour. Then you should be able to do it in like 30 minutes once you get it all broken down, and straight from there. So we'll take that bad boy off. We will go spray down. Spray down, wipe down. Spray down, wipe down. Now we will get that hinge pin out the rest of the way. There we go. So, hinge pin. We can all see that's ugly as fuck. So we take the hinge pin. I have in my grasps 1500. I wish I had didn't take my drill to work. So I'm just gonna take that. Because usually what you do, you just take that hinge pin, chuck it up in your drill, take it in your 1500, spin it up, clean it up, polish it back up. And actually, it's not bad, but it'll take some more polishing, and it'll take more cleaning, and so on and so forth to get that cleared out. But you know, already. So what I do is, if my hinge pin can't fall out, then it ain't right. So I basically will just take the hinge pin like this, dirt and all. See. So, believe it or not, that hinge pin's fine. I'll just take some more polishing. You know, I'll just take 1500. I'll probably just like chuck it up in the drill, like I said, and clean it up that way. So we'll go ahead and we will take this apart, because we know it's yucky, because again, I'm forcing that to happen. Go through that, screw. Mediocre, but kind of junk. Wow. That bad boy is in there. Ooh, doggy. So we are going to take it off camera briefly. Crazy. Can't see. It's off the side here. I do have holes in my workbench, so I try to drive this hinge pin out, but it's not coming. I have to get serious with it. Wow. It's pretty good. It's in there pretty good, actually. Holy guacamole. It's in there pretty good. So, goes. Finally. See how it all just rusted up inside there. That'll teach me to go on a cruise. Oh my gosh. That's what I get for going on a vacation after a race. But I mean, it was a fun round. We'll give it that. There we go, finally. There it is. So, that's the hinge pin right there. Good Lord, that's junk. Okay, so we're gonna kind of... Like an off car here or something. So weekly I actually do this. Obviously the hinge pins are never this bad weekly. But what I do is I actually do polish these things. I'll take the 1500 grit sandpaper like this, and I'll just give them a couple of spins. Light sand, see? And this weekly, just and then the back side of the sandpaper, kind of polish it up a little bit, like such. Yes, my dogs are barking at something with ears. Right, so that actually may not really look like it. It's actually 1000% better, but yeah, it's not bad. So and I didn't really blast out the inside of this, so I'll blast that a little bit. Again, our friend electronics cleaner. See. Yeah. A little more work. Polishing, and that'll be fine. And again, see how much it's cleaned it up. And then, I mean, if you wanted to, you could take like a little bit of 3-in-1 oil. Tiny, 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 tiny little dot here. Is your popping, but really, and now, yeah. So now we're back to normal operation here. That's the way you want everything to be, just loose and free and drops right out. And so I'll blast the arm off, clean it up. I was kind of like not really joking in a way. If you wanted to, like these arms and stuff, in a basket and throw them in your dishwasher, literally. So just make sure they're good and dried before you put them back together. But like in this case, you know, this thing's good to go, in my opinion. We can put this back together like that. Put that here. See, it wouldn't do that before. So back to normal. Done. Just like that. So yeah, weekly I will polish these hinge pins. Just takes a couple seconds. Hit them up, clean them up, keep them free and smooth, just like that. So just like that, arm is done. We will clean. So we will clean this up. It doesn't look too bad for these screws, some of them. But again, we're going to blast these bearings out because they've been pop those off, that out. And this is where I'll use just a little dab of like the Traxxas black grease is like right in here. That assembly, this assembly here. But this is where we saw before those screws, or those pins that I bought. You hear it was all crunchy and grabby in there when I took that apart. So, and these are still the right-handed threads. I haven't switched. That over to the left-hand thread. Honestly, I haven't needed to yet. I haven't had any issues. But again, like I said, I consider these things wheel nuts to be consumable items. So when I start to feel them every couple of races, they feel a little. They don't feel like they've got their oomph anymore. Biting, I just throw them away. It's not worth it to me. Pennies on the dollar versus losing a race, blasting a wheel nut, blasting a wheel, stripping out a wheel, losing a race, blowing a motor because you just zing the motor on the line or something like that. So I'm gonna toss it and just double check your dog while you're doing that. Everything's dry. Back together. We'll wipe down this piece. And the car's gonna sit for a while, so I may or may not. I'm probably not gonna mess with the grease. So I'll just put it back together, dry, so to speak. That's that. That gets done every week. We don't mess around with it. We just take it apart, clean it. Every week we will do that. Somewhere around here I had a bearing blaster, RPM bearing blaster. But I don't know where it went. So take the back side. You can take a bearing puller if you want, but where? Gonna be ornery. I think pop the back one first. And you can get fancy with doing this. I don't. Sometimes the fit is too tight and you don't have any choice but to yank out the bearing puller. But I have yet until now to have that issue and need to break out the bearing puller. Come on, there we go. Oh my gosh, people. killing myself here. Finally. So you can kind of just feel it. It's not bad. It's not the best in the world, but we'll just blast it out real quick. And you can, I mean, you don't have to run ceramics, or you can run the steel bearings. But if you're running steel bearings, I would suggest popping one of the shields. Take one of the shields off, blast the grease out of them, because steel bearings, they load up with grease. And then just get a set of, blast the grease out of there, get it all out. Get yourself some Zubax or some of the RC Speed Secrets bearing oil, and use that and lube it up. And you don't have to worry about the bearing shield going back. Just put the bearing shield you took off to the inside of the hub and don't worry about it. You're probably, okay, RJ, what are you beating on? I'm just taking this down inside because it's not gonna mess thing up, and just a couple of taps. No, nothing major. It's just a little tight and gummed up. And I'm not really hitting it hard. And I'm not holding it tight either, so I don't want to mess anything up. Excuse me. Again, you can probably take the bearing, pull it to it, but you know. Let me show you real quick. Here, just do this. Grab yourself an X-Acto knife with a straight blade. And we'll see if I can get it with this blade. Usually I use a straight blade or a pick. Just grab the edge of the clip. There is a if you can see it. Hang on a second here. So you're just gonna grab, there's a clip there, a little C-clip. Take the knife, get up underneath it, pop it. Boom. See, clip is gone. Shield comes right off. Boom. Then you can get right in there, blast any grease and gunk right out of it. And then when you put it back together, you just put the shield, you don't even mess with putting the shield back on, you just put the shield to the inside of the battery. And you go from there. And it should be straightforward. You can just take the shield, throw it away, the clip away. See, shield gone, bearing, boom. Blast it out. And just like that. And then what I'll do is I'll blast out the inside of this thing. Make sure it's decent. Bearing back in. They're snug. Bearing back in. Yep, just like that. Good spin over. She's fine. There's some air. We'll throw it on that later. I'll go ahead and take this apart. Again, if hadn't seen it earlier, missed it. That's the double toe block, double trans mount gearbox spacer. So you can kind of just go through that. We will ink this because this is going to get thrown away. Actually, you know what? We're going to take the whole thing off. And we will yank the battery. I'll blast this off. You look at some of my arms or some of my camber links, sometimes you'll see this silver marker. This is a silver Sharpie. You puts to the outside. What that tells me is that when I put these together and you see the short side, so the one on the long side is the one that is turned to the right to be turned in. So if you see these and you see these marks, okay, the long side, this end is, you turn it to the right on. This one you turn it to the left to thread it on. With the silver to the outside, then whenever I'm doing camber link adjustments on the rear, I'm turning it backwards, turning it toward me. So then by turning it towards me, I should be bringing it this way. I should be bringing the tire in. So that's what I do. Away, out, in, towards me. So by me turning my camber adjustment towards me, brings it in. Push it away, I push it out. And sometimes I put the silver on there to remind me that goes to the outside. Because old age happens. So, and that's the one side serviced. Shock clean, done. If this car wasn't so disgusting, we would be putting it back together. But it's gross, so the whole car is going to be completely disassembled. And once it's completely disassembled, I may do a quick little Facebook Live to go back over a quicker version, so it's fresh in your mind, so you can kind of be like, okay, yeah, we want to do this, boom. So normally weekly maintenance. We don't touch anything else. We'd get into the gearbox, which we're going to do, but you wouldn't have to get into the gearbox except like every other race, right? But we're gonna go ahead and do that. So, and for this, what we do. Try not to block the camera too much with my hands. See, we'll just do that loose. So if this was race day, I'd loosen that up, right, to do a gearbox change, and then just come back here. Table. Because now with the way this is, you only have the 2 screws in the front. Right. See. So the 2 screws come off. They may not ultimately keep those, and the gearbox comes right out. And that gearbox isn't completely as smooth as I wanted. Actually, you know what? I'm almost positive that that gearbox has steel bearings in it, and yeah. So that gearbox has steel bearings in it, and I did not do anything to them. So this is actually great because we can see. That's what it feels like with standard steel bearings in it. So we will take this. They're 2mm, and they're like that. And we will take our nut and screen and pop it loose. Maybe not. I do not use Loctite on this. I use clear fingernail polish on these. So as you see, I'm doing this the way because I already took the spur gear off. So we will get everything lined up with our speed tips, and we will take it off. And if you're wondering what I did, I just speed tip, held them in place, and then I took the screw and I loosened it up. So that's what I did there. That screw probably thrown away. So you probably anybody ever seen anybody take a slur eliminator off like that, but yeah. And this is Dalrun gearbox, so tried to do a little bit of weight savings back here because she's a little on the heavy side, in my opinion. But I don't know, I feel like I'll go much lighter than it is right now because it seems to work. at the weight it's at on just about any and all surfaces. Good, bad, or indifferent. So I'm kind of like afraid to mess with that. So once again, about that kind of stuff. Screws back here. And look how bad the inside of this thing looks. And as far as lube on the inside, again, I just do a couple of drops of, you do like Zubax or Tri-Flow or something like that in here. Excuse me. Cold is killing me. So, there we go. Oh, yes. She was a little dry. But, as you can see, it is what it is. No big deal. So, I just buy the feeling of the lash. If I feel like there's too much play, then I'll be like, you know what, we need to junk this thing. But I don't You know, I don't know why that thing was locking up. Wish I knew why it was locking up. I don't know why. YouTube doesn't like me tonight. So. That sounds horrible. Been blasted out, but still dirty. So something else you can do. I've used it in years past, once it's throwing them away. But you can get jewelry cleaners, you know, ultrasonic cleaners. You know, get one of those, throw your bearings in. Forget about. So. Too bad. There's some oil on that bad boy and let her rip. Top shelf looks okay. Looks okay. Looks okay. We will look at that. Remember, keep track of your shims. Remember where they went. But it's not a big deal, really, to re-shim, get everything sorted out. A couple extra minutes, not a big deal. And we will blast these suckers out. Let's do a bit better. Put things back together. Ooh. Yeah, blast ice out. As hard as we are pushing these cars, you know, I seriously would not go, and that was just 2 races on that gearbox since it was apart. So I would make sure that you take your time and set aside extra time to where you can go through that gearbox every other race. Honestly, sometimes I think every race, after every race, just put eyes on everything. Again, if you break things down into chunks, life will be a lot easier. You know, just do the back half of the car one night, you go to the front half of the car at night. See, tonight's just going slower because I want to make sure that everything's well gone through. I mean, we can all see how rough this car was. You know, coming back from its beating in Florida. But I think it's It's holding up pretty well so far. Let me double check. What I'd like to do is just kind of like see how free thing is spinning as I go along. You know, if I make sure something's good and clean before I oil it, give it a good spin. See, that's about right. That's a nut to right. So we will blast it out again till it is right. And we will go ahead and pull the shield and make sure it's good and clean. Something I am doing this week, hopefully, podcast from Cover Florida, which I think we've touched on. Stuff for the season. So, yeah, we'll work on stuff from next season. Probably talk some iRacing with Works iRace specialist. We get Tyler talking about iRacing, talking about that season, running the Nazareth Triple M Pulling Truck Series. Kind of recap of how the season's been going. Just unfortunately, he just got eliminated from the Championship 4. And an unfortunate incident while leading, and we'll talk about that. Go from there, and this bearing shield's being a mother. What? Again, get this thing blasted out to where I'm happy with the way it feels, but it's not working. May have to find a different bearing to throw in there. Don't like it. Don't like it at all. So that bearing's junk. See? Yeah, nothing I do makes that bearing happy, so we are tossing it. Said we should have a bearing to replace. I hope so. We'll find out. Oh, very much better. That. Much better. That's so much nicer. Junk. I will throw that bearing away. And even think twice about it. And everyone's like, hey, RJ, why are you throwing a bearing away? Because this wasn't right. And I ain't rich by any means, so trust me. Throwing a bearing away hurts the wallet. But I'll just work some extra hours. Do a couple extra Uber trips, whatever I gotta do. Whatever it takes, whatever I gotta do, I will do. So this is kind of boring and coming to a grinding halt, but it'll be done as we saw when we went into it, it was junk. So there we go. That's that. So now we are going to wrestle with the shims. Wrestle with the shims. All right. So that's money. All right. So about the money. Got everything shimmed up. Find out if we got the shims right. That doesn't feel right. Just start playing some music in the background because this is kind of like lame and boring, but okay. I think that's I mean, it feels right as far as looseness goes, but where we suck is on main. Let's see if that 20 is too much. Yep. So, yeah, that's too much. So let's take 20 thousandths too much. 10 thousandths. All right. In there. Let's try this again. All right, that's better. So that feels better. New screws in there, but work for right now. Just put it back together. A little bit of extra. All right, so gearbox out of the way, which I still think that idler gear is probably going to get replaced now that I feel it all back together. So we got from here back together, get that oiled up, put this side apart. As we can tell, since we know this end is junk, we know this end is junk. So we'll get it taken apart. So we are 2 hours into this. And since I blabbed on at the beginning, we've redone the gearbox. I think we're technically only like an hour on actual work. So okay. That's not so bad. So that one doesn't look as bad. So we're just gonna do our quick cleanup. I guess I can probably, if you wanted to, you could probably have a little 3-in-1 oil while you're sanding it and polishing it. Polish it up a little bit better, a little nicer. But 1500 wet or dry. Excuse me. So, like I said, if you look, I'm going to take dirt, literal dirt, you see that? So that's the standard by which everything is tested by. If I can drop the hinge pin through, it's good to go. So we're now going to take the back half of the card, we're going to blast it off. Blast it off and wipe down. Yeah, it looks like starting to look normal again. Starting to look somewhat normal again. And not look like a complete pile of junk. So, now to this mess. Everything's free and loose. This, like I said, it is not free and loose at all. Got the hinge pin good, but nothing else about this is good. So get all this crap out of here. We'll blast this off. cleaned off. Try. Beat this hinge pin out. Not good. There we go. Finally. So, got that moving. Oh yeah, that looks great, right? Good looking stuff, kids. Good old 1500 wet or dry. Polish that crud right off of there. And yes, I could totally just throw new hinge pins at it. I have new hinge pins. I can get these feeling and working just as good as new. Sometimes backside, give it a little bit of a polish. Chuck these up in your drill. Make this go a little bit faster and easier. So take this apart, that apart. Blast this thing out again. So, polish on those. Yep. I mean, you can see some scoring from the rough, but you can get that polished off of there. See? And that's going to fall right through. So, top one, bottom. Excuse me. So, a little bit of work. Probably a little bit more polish. It's gone on wild here without YouTube blocking up on me, so we're doing good so far. There we go. Falling right out just as we need. So, boom. 2 clean hinge pins. We'll go ahead and same thing, clean these up real quick. do a bearing puller on this, but I mean, eventually you'll just get it knocked out. Take your time. Push it out. Not a big deal. Same thing back here. Blasted cold. Stupid thing pushed out. Chair out of the way. I'll just blast it out in place. So everything blasted out. And like I mentioned earlier, I do not run the left-handed threads yet on this car, on the other axle. So just haven't had the need to make that switch. Stripping them out isn't an issue for me so far. So it hasn't been a big deal. Double check this. Yeah. So. Get this one blasted out, see how it feels. Not too shabby. So we'll finish cleaning this out. It's done. So yep. And that's that. I'll try to get this arm cleaned off a little bit better. Again, probably just You can throw this stuff in the dishwasher. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It'll get everything good and clean. And just don't let your wife know what you're doing. Seriously. Yep. You can blast this, put a little bit of, sometimes I'll put a little bit of Traxxas black grease in there inside that joint sometimes. Sometimes just dry because it's just not worth screwing with sometimes, because you know it gets cleaned like constantly, so it's just not worth sometimes greasing up. It's just a dirt trap anyways, you know. And that's why sometimes, and that's why I always suggest like your spares are ready to go. Because like in this instance, I mean, I could have, and there are some times too, that if I'm going back-to-back days at different places, say I've done a test session, and then I'm going to do a race day, and then I decide at the last minute I'm going to go to another race day. Sometimes maintenance is swapping out parts that are good to go. So I'll go ahead and be like, okay, take stuff worn or dirty that I need to go through and maintain, take it off the car, and then throw spares that I know that are good to go on the car. And then later in the week, go back and go through the spares, the stuff that I took off, maintain those, you know, get up to snuff and back into the box. And then while going through the other stuff and get everything good to go again. It's rare though that I'll do that, but it has happened. I mean, I have done a test session and like, okay, let's go race, and then the next day someplace else. So that's like 1,000,000%, and that's the way it should be. It should be absolutely free, completely loose. Everything. Everything should be that way. You know, when I throw the shocks up here, as I knock the shocks over. So, you know, we're going to start throwing the rear end of the car together. So, yeah, we're going to throw the shocks on there and make sure that when they're on there, you know, when they're on the standoffs and everything, that everything's free and loose. Just because if we have to have all of that stuff free and loose, you know, not binding in any way, shape, or form. Our standoffs. That's a good piece. That's a good piece. That's a good piece. These are good, and all of these other screws. That is good. All these other screws, junk. to say. I want to make sure all of that stuff is free and free moving and free willy, not bound up in any way, shape, or form. Big boxes of hardware. All right. So all those tiny little boxes I showed everyone earlier, I refill them with big boxes. So I've got big boxes of fasteners, and I've got loads of fasteners. Boatloads and boatloads and boatloads. And if I don't have the length that I need, you know, like we're gonna come in here, like, okay, cool. I've got this length screw, right? That is, I don't know what, like 3/8. That's 1/2 inch. So I need 1/2 inch. Let's say 1/2 inch is too long because, as we all know, if your screws are too long into the shock, into the standoff, what's going to happen is the screws are going to hit each other, and the standoff is going to pop loose. So of course, like a moron, I left it in the other room, but even this thing got rusted. So, ever wondered, makes a set of, now this is great right now for the Arrow SAE, but whenever it finally gets converted over to metric, won't be able to do this. But this is actually a screw cutter on this set of Kleins. So, so I'll just run that down in there, cut it, right, and then I'll take it out. I'll just take that 1/2 inch, cut it down to, I don't know, whatever, 1/8, 3/16, something like that. So now I have the length screw that I need to hold the shock on to that standoff. So a lot of times I carry in my spares box, I will have a box. I will have a bunch of like really stupid long screws, and it's like, okay, why do you have these really long screws? And like, well, this is why, because I can just take what I need of the super long ones and then just cut them down with my crimpers. So right there, Klein crimpers, the screw cutters is what I do carry this in my box at all times, so I can cut down screws, just like we just saw there. So if I don't have the right length screw, I'll just grab something that's super long, and I'll be like, okay, there we go. That's what we got. So like I said, the more you do this, the more you're going to find it's only going to take you, a short amount of time to do this stuff, and break it down. Like on a normal Monday night, I'd have done the back half of this car I just did, and that would be it. I'd be done for the night. 35, 40 minutes, move on, and so be it. But then You know, you're not a slave to your cars. The wife isn't like, what are you doing? Working on my car. You know, only doing it for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then you're spending time with the kids, you know, doing stuff in the house that you got to get done. I've got a full-time job, a side business, and then other stuff that I do. So, you know, it's an ongoing thing. I can't always afford hours and hours working on the car, but I can do 45 minutes a night, you know, and then come back to it the next night, do another 45 minutes, and then move on. That sort of thing. Like an awkward angle to do all that. So, everything nice and free and moving. Just the way we want it. So, I guess I got to put this one back together earlier. That's never good. We just got the drops tonight. Nice and free moving. Yeah, try not to shake the camera too much. Yeah, we're not doing a good job of not shaking the camera too much. There we go. Yep. Then we'll just see you start going back together. Cut the arm. obviously. Gearbox is not back in all the way, but we will throw that in here in a second. Get the springs off of that. If anyone's joining this later or rolling in later, you can kind of see one of the things that we do, or that I did on this one, is obviously I'm running 2 gearbox risers stacked on top of each other, and the rear ones for the Arrow. For the Arrow in the rear are so you can see they're just 2 screws with lock nuts for the rear holes, because you're only using the front 2 holes. So we will put this up in there. And if you see how stiff the things were at the end on the outside, that's kind of why I don't mess with worrying about what the wheel weights are. Well, of course it's really bad. Getting disgruntled viewers come and telling me it's really boring.
What are you putting in the dishwasher?
What? I'm not putting... Well, I'm saying you can put RC car parts in the dishwasher.
I swear to God. Today I come and find RC car parts in the dishwasher.
See, this is why in the broadcast you don't tell your wife about it. Or you don't do it when the wife's not around. You know, you do it when the wife isn't around. So.
They would have liked if you would have done the Jingle Bell Rock dance.
The Jingle Bell Rock dance? Yeah. From Mean Girls? Lovely. Yeah. We'll do that. We'll save that one for a Facebook Live. How does that sound?
All right. Is that almost over?
Yes. Yes. I'm going to do the back half of the car. Finish it up. And then I'm going to call it a night.
There's way too much crap in here.
Yes. And I'm still live on Facebook. Thank you.
Not Facebook.
I mean, YouTube. Yes. Okay. Yes. So, as we all hear from the from my better half in the background, that my my YouTube live is boring. So we will fit. Are you taking pictures?
What?
Taking pictures?
Nope.
Okay. I think she was. She was just taking pictures of something. So, so as you put it back together, so this is why at the beginning when I said I don't put a lot of weight into the weights, corner weights, because the outside hinge pin was bound up, which is obviously it's going to mess up the corner weight. So we know that's the corner weights were bogus to begin with, but the ride heights were not. The ride heights were fine because we can get the car to settle into its launch stance, even whenever the parts were bound up. So together. So I'm going to work on finding ways to make this less boring, because as I'm doing it, I'm realizing, yeah, this is pretty boring. And that's that. So probably what I'll do is I'll get with, probably just do a live sometime this week, and go over the floating body mount stuff between the two cars to try to highlight so people can kind of see. Because when you're doing that stuff, the floating body mount, say you're using the old shock towers, and you're like using an OG car, you need to open up the gap back here that the trans brace goes through, and you need to be able to stack the two, the carbon fiber camber link mount and then the floating body mount, and then you need to countersink the top one here, countersink this piece, so then you can lay them flat on top of each other. So and that's really the biggest trick to it all. Once you do that, everything else into place. You don't really have to wrestle with too much more. That's loose. And then I can kind of show what I'm talking about real quick. Look at the back of this car. Kind of like this. So. So yeah, so for an OG Arrow, you take this exact piece here, countersink, go to flathead screws here, open up your shock tower here. If you're using the OG mount, okay, you need to open this up, the OG shock tower, right? So then put this on top of the other camber mount, and slide in, and this sits flush on top of the other camber mount. You're not going to use these screws back here on the 272 gearbox. It's just going to sit on top like that, right? And you're not going to have those two front screws because you can't, those front screws you can't get to with these two camber, with this brace stacked on top of that camber mount. Can't get to it. So, but you're gonna countersink that, stack them on top of each other, and then you'll be able to run the floating body mount on an OG. Front's easy. You just go to the 0 degree fronts, just like that. Kind of go from there. So. And that's the back half. Like I said, you just do your maintenance. Back half, front half. Batteries another night. Something else another night. Tires. So, you know, we're looking at, I don't know, we've been on here for a couple hours. A few hours. But, like I said, you just break everything down and you can go from there. And this car is slowly but surely getting back to normal. But, you know, now everything is free, floating, moving. Doesn't have to be super complicated. A couple pieces of tape, either measurements. Always ride height, ride height, ride height. 99.9% of the time, that's all you need. You don't really need to worry about your cross weights. Your shock length are the same, and your shock collars start at the same distance, you know, down. Same way with the front. Your ride heights, usually, you know, 1 to 2 millimeter rake, you know, front to rear. You know, lower in the front, higher in the rear. A couple millimeters of rake. Let her rip. to be straight every single time. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Like I said, I'll probably I'll give it a night or two, and then I'll come up with a good clear comparison back to back, as far as the difference between the OG Arrow. Actually, no. I actually have it right here. Yeah. So, just all you've got to do is just stack those pieces on top of each other, and you can see. And I'll go live with the other car because I still have the bracket car kind of set up to where we can do the floating bunny mount on an OG. I've got all the pieces, so we'll just put it together and do that. Any questions, just shoot me a message. Find me on Facebook. And thanks for watching. Hopefully it wasn't boring. It probably was. We'll work on it. Come up with something better.